Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, May 13th, 2024, and the Public Safety Commission meeting is now called to order. We begin to acknowledge that the land on which we gather, that is currently known as the city of West Hollywood, is the occupied, unceded, seized territory of the Gabrielino Tongva and Gabrielino Kits people. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance, Commissioner Blau is going to lead us. Will you please stand and place your hand over your heart, your right hand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commission Secretary, can I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg? Here. Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Here.
Chair Hallman?
Here.
We have quorum.
Great, thank you. Before we go into the next item, I just have a short announcement I'd like to read. Public Safety Commissioner Rob Saltzman has resigned from the commission due to personal reasons. On behalf of the city and the commission, we would like to express our gratitude, our sincere appreciation for his dedicated service to our community. The city of West Hollywood takes great pride in the involvement of members of our community, and we are very appreciative of his contributions, valuable opinions, and insight while serving on the Public Safety Commission. Thank you very much for your service, Rob. We wish you well. Item 4 on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda? Can I get a roll call, Commissioner Secretary?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Aye.
The agenda is approved.
Great. Item 5.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
Did we get a motion?
No,
and
we
a
did
second?
not get a motion, and I was hoping you would not catch that.
So can we please get a motion and a second?
I move
And do
to
it again.
approve the agenda.
I second.
Great, thank you. You're on top of it, Director Rivas, I will say that. Item 5 is the approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes from our meeting from April 8th, 2024? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. Commission Secretary, can I please get a roll call?
Commissioner Blau?
Aye.
Commissioner Freiberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Harrison?
Aye.
Commissioner Nickel?
Aye.
Chair Hallman?
Aye.
The minutes are approved.
Great, thank you, Commissioner Secretary. Item 6 is public comments. Commission Secretary, do we have any comments in chambers this evening?
Yes, we have 3 comments in chambers. We have no Zoom comments. First commenter is Louise E. Smith. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Commissioners, thank you for your service. I'm here to announce that I'm your new liaison to the Disabilities Advisory Board. And I just wanted to comment on some of the things that we have interest in, particularly our sidewalk safety and security, and also the security and safety on our streets. I also wanted to commend the security and ambassadors at Plummer Park. When we have our meetings there, they're very helpful and always escort me to the car, because the backside of the Plummer Park does not have very good lighting, and many times all of the spaces that I would use would be taken. So my only caution is maybe get better lighting there. But thank you. You'll be seeing me.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker we have is Steve Martin. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. Steve Martin, West Hollywood. I would like to add to what Chair Hallman said about Commissioner Salzman. He will be missed. His intelligence, his calm demeanor, his dedication toward reform and accountability was a great asset to the commission and will be missed. On a completely changed subject, we may be in for a long, hot summer as the student encampments on these campuses across Southern California come to an end and peace activists start coming out to our streets. And, today, just, the news, over 35,000 people have been killed in Gaza. And that's essentially equal to the number of people who live in this city. And maybe that helps people wrap their head around that number and why, regardless of who started it or where we're going, peace is really important. We're talking about people's lives. And it's very difficult for me to equate protest with anti-Semitism. I'm not saying that there isn't and hasn't been some anti-Semitism at these protests, but we didn't raise a generation of anti-Semitic young people. At least I don't believe so. But we could be facing counter demonstrations during Gay Pride and demonstrations throughout the summer. And the one thing that I would ask the commission to talk to the sheriff about is well, one, we should have a game plan, but two would be the deployment of what is euphemisms, which, if you don't know, are essentially rubberized bullets. That's bullets with a little bit of rubber on them. They're not shooting ping pong balls at demonstrators. They're shooting, a friend of mine, Hank Scott, who published WehoVille at one point, was hit by an LAPD quote-unquote soft projectile and had some pretty severe injuries, missed several days of work. There was a kid recently at UCLA who lost a finger to a soft projectile. So I would hope the commission, before we have demonstrations, would at least talk to the sheriff and find out how they would be deploying soft projectiles, if at all, in the city of West Hollywood during any sort of demonstrations. So I know we all have opinions, and that's great. But let's make sure that West Hollywood's a safe place and a safe place for people to express their feelings. So thank you.
Thank you, and that will be all for the public comments.
Thank you. Item 7 is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business to attend to? All right, thank you. Item 8 will be our report from the Los Angeles County Fire Department. We will hear a report for the month of April.
A lot of chairs. All right, well, thank you. Your fire family's doing great, and appreciate all the support with West Hollywood and your leadership and benefit in the Los Angeles County Fire Department. I've had and heard some great stories about some of you visiting the station, so I appreciate that input. So for the month of April, I didn't see anything that was abnormal. We still average around 20 runs in a month for West Hollywood, which has been the norm for about the last 5 to 7 years. So it comes in peaks, so sometimes it's busier, sometimes it's slower. So for April, we had a total of 10 fires, 400 rescues, 0 hazardous conditions. We had 0 service calls. We had 125 good intent calls. And I always speak to the good intent calls because that means people are paying attention, they're calling, and we can go and see what the nature of the emergency is or is not. So I appreciate those good intent calls. With the medical responses, we transported a total of just under 300 people with 107 ALS and 191 that required basic life support. So that's right on track for what we usually see in West Hollywood. So just one thing for you to know, when we do get busy as we get into summer, that we have a surge capability to where we move resources up to support West Hollywood. So that's something that we have that kind of flexibility within the organization to augment when things get really busy here. One thing that I did see kind of trend down last month, which I was happy about, was only 4 rubbish fires. And I speak to rubbish fires, how those lead to bigger fires. And we didn't have any large structure fires, which is of high benefit, which we've seen some pretty significant structure fires as we were into our winter months in the last part of the year. So I was very happy to see that. And with that, is there any questions for me? Relatively light in April.
Commissioners, do we have any questions?
I do, Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Blau.
Thank you. Thank you for your report.
Yes, sir.
I know it's not in April, but I am curious about an incident that happened last week at Jones Hollywood. There was a structure fire. Can you touch on that at all?
I don't have the information in front of me. I wasn't there.
Okay.
So I'd have to dig into that, and I don't want to speculate on what happened. So
Okay.
I can get that for you, though.
Great,
Or
yeah.
if you can wait till next month, we can do
Yeah,
that. But I can
till-
follow up with you if you like.
Okay, no
I
problem.
sure can.
Yeah, and we'll definitely want to touch on it
You bet.
at the next meeting, and maybe the sheriff might have something to say, but okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You bet.
Commissioners, any other questions?
Hi.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a question on the surge comment. What typically would create that surge need?
Response time. So if we know that we have paramedic squads that are transporting to the hospital and might have a delay time, is we move other paramedic resources up into West Hollywood. But we can do that with our engine companies or our paramedic squads.
Is that different? Sorry to interrupt you. Is that different from typical, like you said, surge because we're coming up on the summer?
Well, summer,
Is that because of
the
Pride and other-
activity gets a little bit more frequent in West Hollywood, longer daylight hours. People are enjoying the daylight for longer and out and about. So we know that we have to be flexible to push other resources into West Hollywood if it gets above average on our calls at night. So we do that
It's a
routinely.
fun place to be. Got it. Thank you.
Commissioners, anyone else? I have a question. Chief, you always do an amazing job with Pride, so thank you very much. Will there be any changes in what you do for this upcoming Pride? Like, I'm assuming after, each year, you sit back and assess what worked, what didn't work. Any new changes that you might be implementing for 2024?
So as far as the organizational structure, the answer is no. We're in unified command with our law partners, West Hollywood Sheriffs. So we're in a unified command component. So the amount of resources that we have, we're going to have relatively the same footprint that we have with the geographic boundaries, the overhead we have in place. And the biggest thing for me on Pride, we want people to come and enjoy. And we have to staff the event so it doesn't take away service from people that are outside the event. So that is a big deal to us, and also with our law partners, that we have adequate protection for the life safety mission for Pride, but we'll also have to provide that outside the footprint of Pride for those residents that are just doing their lives. Okay. So I know it's a long answer, but there's yes and no to that, by the way. So we always have an after-action review on things that we can improve on, if there's anything that we need to do differently. So we look at that continually, especially after any event that we have. We get together as a team, if you will, and we look at those different components on what went right, what went, I don't want to say wrong, but could have went better.
Okay, great, thank you.
You bet.
Commissioners, anyone else? Commissioner Secretary, do we have any public questions?
We don't have any public questions on this item.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Chief. We will see
right.
you at Pride.
Yes, you will. Appreciate the support. Thank you.
Item 8B, The Public Safety Commission will now hear from our Sheriff's Department. They will provide a report for the month of April.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. We'd first like to also thank Commissioner Salzman for his service to this commission and to the city. Okay, for the month of April, West Hollywood personnel responded to 1,610 calls for service, with 88 of those being for emergency response. Deputies made 29 felony arrests and 78 misdemeanor arrests. West Hollywood Part 1 crimes for the month of April, we had 183 incidents. Part 1 crimes broken down by district, 56% of the Part 1 crimes were in the west with 103, 21% in the center, city center with 39, and 23% east with 41. Theft incidents were the main factor for our crimes. In Part 1, grand theft, petty theft, vehicle burglaries accounted for the majority. A big portion of that was pickpocketing incidents that occurred in April in the Rainbow District. We're working, again, we haven't stopped doing it, but we are working with local bars, clubs, and entertainment venues to keep them aware of our ongoing pickpocketing issues, especially ramping up towards Pride. We're definitely trying to get them aware of the problem. For Pride, we do have plans to help try to combat this. I can't give too much details about it, but we do have some plans to try to combat pickpocketing. During the month of April, our COPS team deputies assisted our narcotics investigators in 2 separate operations, leading to the arrest of 2 separate people, a recovery of a large amount of narcotics, and a recovery of a stolen gun. Both people were in and around West Hollywood selling narcotics to our community. In preparation for WeHo Pride is been underway for quite some time now. We've been working with our law enforcement partners, with our Emergency Operations Bureau, our city public safety staff, block by block, fire department, in preparation for Pride. And touching on what Mr. Martin brought up is we definitely are planning for any type of protest incidents that may occur. That has come into our planning. When he mentioned the projectiles or the rubber bullets, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but there's an Assembly Bill 48, I believe, that was passed in 2021 that has restrictions with law enforcement when it comes to the use of rubber projectiles or less lethal type of weapons when it comes to protests. So there are restrictions and things that we do follow and that are mandated by law. Commissioner Blau, I know you asked the fire department regarding the Jones Cafe incident. I do have some information that I can share. It wasn't a structure fire. It came out as a structure fire. It turns out it was an arson to an awning to the facade of the building. Damage was less than $2,000, and we're actively searching for the suspect. Our arson explosives detail is handling that. We're going to have a short presentation after our question period with our traffic investigation supervisor, Matt Davis, who you've met before. But for now, we'll go ahead and open it up to any questions you may have.
Thank you. Commissioners.
Just for clarification, Sergeant Davis would do his presentation after Healthcare in Action does their presentation, not after the questions.
Oh.
So after Healthcare in Action?
He'll do his traffic presentation, but we'll take questions, any questions that you might have.
Okay, great. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Blau.
Thank you, Chair. Let's see. Thank you for your presentation tonight. Wonderful to see both of you, and as well, Sergeant Davis, thank you for joining us. I've got a question. At our recent public safety open house, I spoke with a member of the community, and they were asking a question that I wasn't able to answer. What is the kind of training that the sheriff deputies get regarding handling people that have dementia or Alzheimer's within the community?
We have, in the academy, we get specialized training. So we have from all special needs. So it covers autism, people with dementia. But we also have what we call in-service training, where we have people from our, I'm trying to think of I know the acronym, but I can't think of our COPS team, the general COPS team, where they come and do the Silver Alert, which is, we work with our MET team. I can't remember the acronym now. Basically, the Silver Alert is something that people can register online and get a bracelet, and then our team, and again, please forgive me, I cannot remember what the name of the team is right now. They come out and we have an antenna. So if we have a Silver Alert, they come and it's kind of like LoJack. They triangulate for the bracelet.
Oh, okay.
So we do have ongoing training. It's something that it's an ongoing thing. Anytime we have critical missing, whether it be a child or a senior, that's something that we always ask whether or not they have the Silver Alert. But we have training on different ways of dealing with people with dementia. And West Hollywood is 1.9 square miles, so we always look outside of our city, because most of the time the missing critical seniors that we have, the Silver Alerts, we've actually found them outside of our jurisdiction. So we always try to, not necessarily within the city, but we always even look out to our partners. We ask our partners, whether it be LAPD, Beverly Hills, to help us with any of the missing.
Great. Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I have a question first for Director Rivas. So I asked a couple meetings ago about, with respect to the sheriff contract, how many police vehicles and other kinds of equipment we're supposed to get based on our deployments. I never got that information, so I'm just following up that we'll still want that. But a question that I have for the sheriff department is, just checking in. How is the equipment availability and functionalness looking like within the department? I've heard some reports that there's a lot of issues with patrol vehicles not working, and potentially you're short on maybe it's batteries again for less than lethal, as we heard about earlier. But generally, how are we looking? As far as our less than lethal, we're actually doing good with the equipment that we have. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would like to have each deputy assigned, especially a taser, but it doesn't work that way. But the ones that we do have now are functional, and the deputies check them out on every shift. As far as our vehicles, I know Sergeant Duran will have a little bit more information on that, but that is due to the manufacturers. So we put in to purchase vehicles, and the manufacturers were behind on building the cars. So we are in dire need of getting cars. So it has nothing to do with the department. It has to do with the manufacturer of the vehicles that we use as patrol vehicles. But it looks like, I think the last update we had, that we were getting a few vehicles. But remember, we're the whole entire sheriff's department, so we tell our deputies to be very, very, very careful, because one vehicle in a traffic collision, it could be totaled. So, but it had nothing to do with the department not wanting to buy vehicles. It had to do with the manufacturer not being able to supply us with the vehicles. Okay. But I think we're heading in the right direction and getting the vehicles. Okay, thank you. And then the last point, coming again out of the open house that we had, is it sounds like there's a potential backlog on the training necessary within the department to get the sheriff deputies on bicycles. Is there anything, I guess if that's incorrect, is there anything that the city can do, Director Rivas, to try and expedite that at all for our usage here? I can jump in on that, because unfortunately the city can't provide us with the training. It's the staffing. So we have, in order for us to be trained, he has to be an instructor that can, it's called trainer. So, and it's only done through our Advanced Officer Training Bureau, and we're on a waiting list. And I know that I think we're probably 8 on the waiting list, just for them to come out here to do the training, because they only have one deputy right now that's doing that. And again, it's not because
we don't have the resources. We have bikes, we have deputies that want to go on the training, but we don't have enough people to train us. And unfortunately, it's a common theme on a lot of the stuff because of the shortage that we have. It kind of trickles everywhere. So it's not just affecting at a station level, it's affecting everywhere. So the ones that will do the training for us, there's only, I think, one deputy that does it right now.
Wow, for the whole department. Okay, wow.
So yeah, we're waiting.
Understood. Thank you. That was the last of my questions. Apologies, but thank you for the time.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Holman. Actually, to follow up on Commissioner Blau's question, do we have deputies that are currently trained and do bike patrols? We do, yes?
Yes, I want to say there's probably 6 that we currently have.
Good.
But they're doing different assignments throughout the station. But yeah, we have about 6, and we have 4 brand new electric bicycles that we have for them to utilize.
Got it. Well, we look forward to that training so that we can have more than 6 out on the streets. Mail theft. I know that we've talked about this. It's a continuing issue. A neighbor came up to me. Their building had all of their mail stolen. And they said that it seemed to be a pass key that was used because there was no break-in. So can you talk a little bit about that? What can the department do when this theft occurs? And because I know it happens a lot. And what can you tell residents and building managers to do to better secure their mail?
So mail theft is a problem throughout, not just the city of West Hollywood, throughout all of the LA area. It's been hit pretty hard. When you refer to a pass key, typically what's happening is it's somebody that shouldn't have one has somehow obtained a postal key. And for your knowledge, what a postal key does is it accesses all the mailboxes that are in an apartment building or a condo building, whatever it may be. It gives basically access for that postal worker to open up all the boxes at once simultaneously to load the mail into the ports. So somebody gets a hold of one of those keys, basically they have complete access to everybody's mail. They can just empty it out at will. Some of those keys also operate the door pad that allows access to the building, and it's given that way so that the postal worker can get into the building. So essentially, if somebody had one of those keys, it's a free-for-all. They can get right in. Once a key has been taken or accessed, really what the residents or the building manager, whoever it may be, what they need to do is they need to call the postal inspector to come out and have them re-key the building. It's expensive from my understanding from the postal aspect of it. It doesn't fall on the building to pay for that. It's the post office that has to do it. And it's a slow process to get it done. And sometimes they're reluctant to do it just because of the time and the money involved with it. Our hurdles when it comes to postal or mail theft is, for example, we'll get calls or complaints where somebody comes and says, hey, the boxes are all open, something was stolen. We would essentially need to find out from each individual person who that box belongs to, what was stolen. We wouldn't take just a blanket report saying mail was stolen. We need to figure out who it belongs to or what it was so that we could document and track it. So a lot of times what'll happen is a building manager will call us and say, hey, the boxes were broken into, but we need to know whose box was broken into specifically and what was taken. People can also report their thefts to the postal inspector. There's a website for that. It's USPIS.gov/report. If they go to that website, there's a link on there that they can report mail theft to the post office. Who ultimately it's a crime. It's a federal crime that's occurring when somebody steals mail. Packages that are left on a doorstep from Amazon, that's something different. That's something that we would basically take a report for and handle. But when it comes to the mail that's coming from a postal person, it can be reported to the postal website.
So that sounds like a big hurdle locally because unless you know that something was delivered that day, like a registered check or something, how do you know what was in your mailbox to report it to you?
It's tough. That website that I gave you also has a link on there for some tips about what people can do for important mail, for example, requiring a signature so that it isn't just left at the location or having it held by the post office. There's some different options that people can do for mail that's a little bit more important to them to try to prevent those things from happening. It is kind of a crime that is happening a little more often now. Those keys are out there. I don't know how they get out there, but they are out there.
But it sounds like it's vital that they do get those rekeyed, because that you said that it also can unlock the doors to buildings.
Yes, some
that's
buildings,
disturbing.
not all of them, but some buildings do have access with that key that gives basically access to the postal worker to get into the building itself.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And then just one more thing to add. I know that our detector bureau has reached out to the postal inspector to try and get, because of the influx of mail theft, to try and see if from the law enforcement aspect, if they can come out here and rekey, especially those areas that have been hit multiple times. So I know that our detector bureau has reached out to the postal inspector to try and see if they can get, and like, at the end of the day, it's the bottom line for, because they say, well, who's going to pay for it? Well, we just want it rekeyed because some buildings have been hit a couple of times, because they have access to it.
So then, sorry, just one second. Just to follow up on that, so my neighbor's building who was hit, if you do receive a response and the post office reaches back out and says we're going to do that, will the responding deputy reach back out to my neighbor and...
The detective will, or we
detective
go
will.
to the management company, to the
Yes.
management HOA and say, hey, postal inspector's going to come and rekey your mailboxes.
Great.
So, but that's something that's been in the works since, I think a couple of months. But I mean, at least we're trying from our angle too to try and see if we can get the post offices rekeyed.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Blau.
Thank you. Just a note that I want to share regarding that is actually the USPS has a free service called Informed Delivery, and if you sign up for it, they will email you like a scanned cover of what mail you've got coming to your mailbox soon. I'm just pulling up the one that I've got this morning, and I have like a postcard from a business coming soon to me. So that's something that everyone could look at for this kind of a situation or just in general, because I don't go check my mailbox every day. I only check it when I know I've got something worthwhile.
But that is good to know. So when we do have to write a criminal report, well, I have this notification saying that this is the mail that I'm supposed to receive. So, because we need to have a victim and we need to have what was taken. And sometimes you can ID, well, usually at this day I get this, but we can't verify. So that's a great, I didn't even know that, but that's a great tool to use.
So that's USPS Informed Delivery. I know I sound like this is SpawnCon, but it's the federal government, so it's okay, and it's free.
Can I ask sorry, just one question.
Sure, go ahead.
Continue the mail theme here. Our postman was robbed out of his truck directly, like they just took the mail out of the back. So would that be a U.S. Postal Service inspection? Got it.
Yeah,
For that, for sure,
For
yeah.
sure.
We would probably respond out to that. However, ultimately, it
Pass
would
it
be
on.
them that would be investigating that, yeah.
Okay.
Commissioners, any additional questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Freiberg.
While we're on the subject, so when my building was broken into, there are very clear pictures of who was doing this. So are you allowed to post that on your website, or you can't do anything?
The only thing
I
that
mean,
we
it was
can...
broken into twice, pictures, very clear.
So the thing legally we can't do that. The only time that we do it is a person of interest. So detectives, when the detectives feel that they're trying to find a person of interest, then you've seen a couple of like what we call bolos. So that's something that they can do to the community members, and they have done that when they post it on social media to say, here's our we're looking for this individual. Can anybody identify him? I mean, we have resources to try and identify if we can, but those resources are used. But I know that it might be your building that it was the same person that wore the same shoes and the same hoodie.
No.
That wasn't you. Okay, there was the one building that person wore the same sweatshirt and
That was the second person that
Okay.
came in. The first one, it was a couple,
Okay.
a man and a woman, And I think the woman had a pink wig on. I mean, it was pretty obvious who it was, but I just was
Yeah,
wondering.
it's up to the detective, and depending on where they're at in their investigation, they can do person of interest, but we can't say, they're labeled as people of interest.
Okay. Yeah, and the second person that came, it was after we just got it fixed, and then the person came in maybe a day later and had the brand new key. Completely different person, but yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Sergeant Duran, we spoke about a narcotics bust that happened in the city. Is that the same one you alluded to earlier when you were giving your report?
Yes, it was something that our narcotics investigators here at our station were working on. They establish information, either from informants or reports that we take from patrol, and they find a pattern, they find who things are, they find what's going on, and they get warrants for people, things like that, and then they use our cops team, our EPT teams, to assist them in making those arrests, and that's what those were.
Okay, great, thank you. And I just want to make sure I understood you clearly. We have bikes that are operational, and did you say we have deputies that are already trained that can use the bikes?
We do. We have a few of them that are on our cops team, which if you have seen them before, that's probably who you've seen. We have some that are assigned to our detectives right now, but our detectives aren't going to be getting on a bicycle, to be honest. They can do them if it comes down to like something where it's a special event or they're on overtime or something like that. One of our detectives can get on a bicycle, but that's what it is. It's basically there's people that at other assignments within our station now that aren't really going to be using those bicycles, but we do have people.
So that leads me to my next question. Since Pride is all hands on deck, will we see any of these individuals utilizing the bikes?
Yeah, we'll have the bikes out there for Pride, daytime hours usually. They were out there last year with them, working basically the street festival, going up and down.
The nighttime hours are going to be very difficult because of the
crowds.
The crowds, we're not going to be able to use our bikes, but during the day, that's what they use.
Okay, great, thank you. Commission Secretary, do we have any questions from the public?
Yes, we do have one public comment. Kevin Burton, if you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Kevin Burton, a resident of West Hollywood, and my comment has to do with the traffic division report, which I think we're going to hear about. And I am with the Bicycle Coalition, and it's very difficult to bicycle anywhere in West Hollywood without being on a street with traffic. And so the activities of traffic enforcement are very critical to the safety and well-being of bicyclists in our city. And I was just wondering how the Sheriff's Department and the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station specifically are addressing a new law that came into force last year, in which if a bicyclist is in a lane that is not wide enough for a vehicle to pass them in the lane, and that applies to several dual lane streets, arterials in West Hollywood, including Santa Monica Boulevard, Fountain Avenue, La Brea Avenue, and others, where the lanes are rather narrow, then you will have noticed that at least on Santa Monica Boulevard and Fountain Avenue, there are these bikes may take full lane white signs. That's because those lanes are narrow. There's not enough room for a vehicle to pass within the lane. And the law that came into force last year requires all vehicles to completely change lanes where there's more than one lane available in order to pass. They're not allowed to move halfway out of the lane, pass the bicyclist, and then go back in. No, not anymore. My own experience as a bicyclist in West Hollywood is that not all motorists adhere to this law, and it may be that not everyone's aware of the new law, and I'm hoping that the traffic division has this new law in mind. So if any of the motor officers see this happen, that they will pull the vehicle over and give a warning or cite them, because this is a very important issue, we believe, for the safety of bicyclists. Thank you.
Thank you, and that will be all for the public comments.
Okay, even Zoom, no comments?
No
in
Zoom comments.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. We will see you at Pride. Item 8C on our agenda, the block-by-block security ambassadors will now provide a report on activity for the month of April. Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Commissioner Blau, I'm glad that you talked about informed delivery. I have informed delivery. I was a victim of identity theft because someone stole my ID out of my mailbox at my complex. And that's how I was able to know that that specific item was stolen. So if you don't have informed delivery, get it. That's how I was able to file a police report and follow up. So not fun. Okay, so for the month of April, I'd like to report that our business contacts throughout the city were at 4972. Unhoused community contacts were at 1350, and calls for service were at 649. When compared to April of last year at the same time, I know that that can seem like substantial increases. Unfortunately, I'm a little bit of a disadvantage as I can't speak to the trends that were happening last year as I wasn't here. But what I can tell you is that I try to look at this as an average over the month and then per hour. So for example, our business contacts were about 6.8 per hour over the month of April, which internally for us, we want to make sure that our ambassadors are making contacts throughout the day at least 8 to 10 times per their shift along the Santa Monica Boulevard, Melrose and Sunset. Unhoused contact, average per hour contacts is at 1.8 per hour, which is about average when you think about that over a 30-month time frame. And then calls for service, same thing. When you think about that over the course of a month, that's about 1 per hour. That's pretty average for us that we're getting. What I have noticed is that we're getting a lot more calls for people that I think don't know what our services are. I've been making more of a concerted effort to attend more neighborhood watch meetings. We were at the public safety open house, sharing information about our program. A lot of the times the calls that we get are about code enforcement, parking, noise complaints, a lot of code enforcement calls. And so we're having to even illegal dumpings, for example. You know, someone dumped something and they want somebody to come pick it up. So we will make a concerted effort to report whatever we can via the city app, and also let callers know where they can call if it's something that is outside of our service purview. Trends that have continued for the month of April are encampments along Santa Monica Boulevard, the bus stops, and that is a trend that we're continuing to see. One thing that we have also made throughout the month of March is adjustments to our deployments, and so we've been more proactive on hotspots. We've had 2 temporary kiosks at some hotspot locations at Plummer Park in front of the lawn, and also El Tovar kiosk, which helped. Those are areas of concern, and so we've been able to adjust our deployments to really be more proactive in areas that are becoming a little bit more plagued with activity. We also have more staffing. We are not immune to any staffing issues. Last year, at the end of the year, we did have some staffing issues, but we are fully staffed now. And we've actually invested in a recruiter that we've been working with for the last about 2 months now. So we have some very healthy staffing numbers as well. The other thing that we have been working on is really re-educating our ambassadors when it comes to social health care services. We're partnering closely with Healthcare in Action, partnering with our Sheriff's Department and Healthcare in Action, and spending some time with them, shadowing some of their outreach services. That way we can better educate our ambassadors on how to mitigate, those contacts whenever someone's having a mental health crisis. How can we get more involvement from our social service providers so that we can get people the right help at the right time. I do want to take a minute to highlight some of the work that we started doing at the end of March and early April. We finished our sensitivity training that we had committed to getting all of our ambassadors through, just to make sure that we are proactively addressing any issues with sensitivity around the LGBTQ+ community. So at the end of March, early April, we completed that. It was a 3-hour training that we invested in for all of our ambassadors. And I'd like to just take a minute to highlight some of the things that they learned around those 3 hours. The facilitator went through the history of the LGBTQ+ plight, start of the struggles within the community, understanding how some of those stigmas, prejudices, and cultural intersectionalities and traumas have impacted the lives of the LGBT as individuals and the unique challenges that the community face. We went through the understanding of terminology and language, especially with issues in interaction and how the differences between social orientation and gender identity, and how to utilize these skills to become an ally to the LGBTQ+ community. Excuse me. We really went into a deep dive into the transgender community as it relates to, coming out in the form of acceptance, challenges and disparities within transitioning, and how all these different aspects of that process adds to the mental health challenges that trans individuals face. And a lot of open and honest conversations that were had between our ambassadors and our facilitator that allowed just an opportunity for questions to be answered and misconceptions to just kind of be dissuaded there and answered. And so ambassadors also had a chance to take a survey on what they thought about the resource materials that were provided. And about 90% ambassadors thought that the class was very helpful. They took a lot from it. But it doesn't stop there. We will continue to have refresher courses throughout the year and also continue investing in the importance of the sensitivity training. In addition, I want to highlight just one more thing. One of our ambassadors, his name is Gerardo, he was out on patrol on April 9th and encountered an individual who was blue, not breathing. He was able to contact emergency services and through that was able to give the individual CPR chest compressions while EMS arrived, and at that point EMS arrived and were able to take over and transport the individual. So I just wanted to commend him for his great work. Commissioner Nickel, I know that you asked about the deceased individual on that same day at Fatburger. Unfortunately, that was a Narcan overdose. By the time that we got to the individual, he had already passed. EMS services arrived pretty quickly, so there really was no need for us to do any Narcan administration at that point. And then one more thing, for the month of April, for total calls for service, average response time was about 13 minutes. So I'm really proud of that response time considering that we don't have a lot of vehicles. We're on foot and bike patrol, but it's something that we're looking to get a little bit better at as time passes and we're able to get everybody out where they need to be. WeHo Pride planning is in full effect. So we're partnering with our code enforcement partners as well as sheriffs to make sure that our presence is where we need to be. And then, like I said, working on growing our partnerships with those social service providers, specifically Healthcare in Action, over the month of April, and re-educating our ambassadors about those services and how we can better partner with city providers. Any questions?
Great, thank you. Commissioners, do we have any questions? Commissioner Blau.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your detailed report this month. I really appreciate it. And as well, please extend my personal thanks to Gerardo, I think you mentioned, for that incidents that you talked about with the CPR on the individual.
Thank you.
I want to confirm one thing. Block by Block really helps the city by being kind of eyes on the street. I want to confirm, do Block by Block individuals, are they able and checking in and reporting things to code enforcement when they see things, for instance, like a couch on the side of the street? I have the WeHo app. Another plug. I have the WeHo app, and whenever I see like large discarded things on the side of the street, I'll snap a picture and pick it up. Does Block by Block also do that?
Yes, we do.
Great.
We do. So same thing, you know, and at the same time when we get calls for service and we are in the area where someone is reporting an illegal dumping, we will do the same thing and report that.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner Freiberg.
I just had a quick question about the first incident at Whole Foods, the sexual assault. I know they usually have a private security guard there. So how does that work? Did the private security guard call you guys first?
No, so this happened in front of Whole Foods, right outside of Whole Foods, so not in their parking lot. This was a proactive patrol by one of our team leads who witnessed an individual slap a female bystander who was waiting at the bus stop in the bottom, in her behind. And so he called sheriffs right away, and she asked to press charges, so that was that situation.
Okay, because I was curious how it worked with private security guards, if they would call your service before maybe the sheriffs.
Can you repeat that?
Like if the private security guards would call block by block before they would call the sheriffs.
We do get a lot of calls from private security individuals at, for example, pavilions, the Target as well, and Trader Joe's. So when it comes to private property, we will offer support. We can stand there and observe and watch and offer support, you know, if they need to. But when it comes to those private property areas, we definitely defer to them to handle those issues, and also encourage them to escalate to sheriffs as needed.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Commissioners, anyone else? I have a question on the sensitivity training. I'm glad it was a success. Do you know, will they be happening quarterly, or do you have a schedule mapped out?
Quarterly refresher. And then on top of that, we are waiting to receive some resource materials that we will internally be handing out to make sure that whatever we learned is still maintained, but we will be doing quarterly refreshers as well.
Right. Director Rivas, as commissioners, are we allowed to join them and, you know, also participate in the training?
I know we've offered similar opportunities to the commission, so we can certainly confer with our city clerk's office and circle back with the commission and see if that's something. I would assume, though, that the refreshers are nowhere near as intense as, you know, the initial training, but we can certainly look and discuss with Block by Block in the city clerk's office and let you all know.
Okay, great. I would love to attend if, you know, there's a more extensive training that you have scheduled for maybe new hires in the future.
Yes, that is something that we're looking to do, so I'll put the invitation out. I know that the last time that I made the announcement, I did put so you're more than welcome to join. So when I get a date on the calendar for our new hires, I will definitely send a reminder to you all.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Commission Secretary, do we have any questions from the community?
We don't have any public comments on this item.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much. I know we will be seeing you and your team as well at Pride.
Yes. Thank you.
Item 8D, Healthcare in Action, the Public Safety Commission will receive a presentation from Healthcare in Action, a contracted program about the outreach and social services they provide to the City of West Hollywood community members. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you so.
I think we lost your mic.
Here we go. Okay. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Derek Murray. I'm the Acting Social Services Supervisor for the Human Services Division. Healthcare in Action is one of our newest partners. They provide mobile medical, mental health, and substance use treatment to unhoused community members within the city limits. A big thank you to Commissioner Freiberg for recommending this program when you were part of the Human Services Commission. HIA offers a service delivery model that is very practical and efficient for a small city. City staff, public safety personnel, and community partners can make a service request whenever they see somebody in need. Community partners can make service requests either by calling an answering service or sending an instant message through an app. The Human Services Division and our wonderful community safety partners are currently implementing a plan for block by block to use the app daily, if not hourly, to make service requests and increase coordinated efforts with our provider. HIA also provides proactive outreach by canvassing the city's parks, alleyways, and intersections and interacting with our unhoused community members. Last week, they outreached with the sheriff's deputies, and they were very successful in enrolling new patients into the program. I really don't remember a time without Healthcare in Action. That's how integral they have been part of the city's team. They're really dedicated, and it's my pleasure to introduce them to the commission.
Thank you so much, Derek. We feel really lucky to partner with you and to partner with this whole commission. My name is Grace Bell. I'm our Chief Operating Officer for Healthcare in Action. And as Derek shared, we are a street medicine team at heart, but a street medicine team that includes peer navigators and community health workers that are able to cover a wide variety of services. So not only can we be responsive within 1 hour, but we are able to provide clinical services, so everything from primary care, behavioral health care, substance use treatment, HIV treatment, but also we are able to provide housing support and care management support to really help wrap around all of these pieces. So we'll go into a little bit more detail, but we're really excited to be able to be with you and with all of the partners of West Hollywood to really meet the needs of these patients. And glad that we can be responsive within 1 hour, because I think often these items come up quite quickly, and then we continue with a longitudinal relationship with these individuals, because being responsive within 1 hour is great, but not as great as then being able to continue to maintain that. So that's definitely part of our objective, and we want to share a little bit more about our work. So I will pass it to our nurse manager, Jessica.
Next slide, please. So Healthcare in Action has several teams throughout California, but the one that serves the city of West Hollywood is called the Concierge Team. And that is because when that service request comes in, we really do try to provide that personalized service to our patients. So our hours of operation are between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., and that is 7 days a week. This includes holidays. Like Derek has says, we can be contacted via a 24/7 patient line or via a secure text paging system that is shared within our city partners. Here we have listed some of the individuals who are going to be on the other side of that service request. So we have a medical director, MD. We also have a clinical lead in David, our physician assistant. My name is Jessica, I'm the nurse manager. We also have an RN, an LVN, a clinical support partner, a lead peer navigator, and several other peer navigators who are on the scene to support when those calls come in. Next slide, please. So what do we do and what we don't do? So Healthcare in Action is here to provide that urgent and chronic care mental health services, social services, without any enforcement or displacement of the community members that we serve. So times when you should give us a call is when you're observing someone who is unhoused within the WeHo city limits that appears to be in need of some type of medical service. Maybe they're having a mental health crisis. They may need substance use treatment. Those are perfect times to give us a call. We do not provide public safety. So if someone is an imminent threat, if they are combative, that is more in line with our sheriff's department. Similarly, if someone is having an active emergency, so we're having chest pains, if they are actively bleeding, injured, this is a call for 911. We are not equipped to provide emergency services. Next slide. Pass it to David.
The medical care that we provide in the field is diverse, and it's not limited to what's listed here. But some of the things that we provide, we can do blood draws in the field, EKG. We provide antiretroviral therapy for HIV treatment, substance abuse treatment with like Suboxone, naltrexone. We provide Hep C treatment. We dispense all sorts of meds, various antibiotics, and we also provide, harm reduction supplies in the forms of needles and pipes and, there's a lot more to this, but these are some of the care that we provide in the field.
Next slide. So I'm the lead peer navigator, Misha. Similar to what David was saying, I think one of the most fascinating things about our organization is the fact that we provide this overlapping care of where we combine the clinical with the navigational, in which we can not only just address the clinical, but also we address the social determinants of health factors that affect the community members that we're serving. And so as David and them will handle the clinical, a lot of the times, me and my navigators will go ahead and we handle those social determinants factors, which is like housing in itself, healthcare, connecting these clients to their PCP, going ahead and finding a way to get them into the CES system, finding opportunities to get them into programs such as recovery programs for our individuals who need substance use, finding shelters that individuals can go to immediately, if not immediately the next day or within those day periods. We've had immense support from our leadership team to make it possible to be able to have the resources from similar individuals and community members like Derek and yourself to be able to provide these services and advocate for our clients to make sure we give them the proper wraparound care that they get both from the clinical and the navigational aspect. Next slide.
So this is just a short video that kind of gives a little bit of a view into what we do.
And we have timestamps too.
Sorry, Commissioner, we're actually having difficulty with the audio of the video.
Are you going to go into the narrative next?
They visit homeless encampments and offer medical care. They're part of a street medicine team called Healthcare in Action.
Good morning, street medicine. Is anybody interested in any medical care?
This particular encampment, on the border of Hollywood and West Hollywood, is home to about 20 homeless people, most of whom are LGBTQ.
Yeah, we can do the same
Homeless populations are at high risk for communicable diseases like hepatitis and HIV. It's one of the reasons why medical care is so important on the streets.
So do you guys want to come to the van or do you want to do it in here? Yeah, I can bring it.
Here, there's been several reported cases of monkeypox, so the team is giving out vaccines.
Yeah, it shouldn't hurt that much. You're done.
While the team focuses on medical care, they also offer counseling for addiction and mental health, and they have a support team to help patients get housing.
Because we're out here so often, we've developed a rapport with a lot of these individuals. You know, they know that we are friend and not foe, and so they're a lot more willing to engage us. You always look beautiful, by the way.
We ask if we can interview one of the patients, but most are reluctant to go on camera.
I'm sorry. No, you're out here doing it. You're out here doing the best you can, and I can see it, okay?
28-year-old Kayla agrees to talk to us. In part, she says, because she's grateful for the medical care she gets from this team.
These people come and make sure we have what we need. Like, I don't know, I probably wouldn't be doing as well as I am right now if they didn't come into my life.
Kayla says she really needs healthcare. She is HIV positive and recently found out she has monkeypox.
Being homeless, to get to Cedars-Sinai, to get to my primary doctor, it's hard. It's not easy. No one helps. No one helps. Like, if you guys were on this side, you'd see a different version of what goes on, like, a different aspect of life, because, like, I don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here, but, like...
Kayla's been living on the streets for 3 years. She ended up homeless after she came out as transgender to her family. In the US, 1 in 3 transgender adults has experienced homelessness. Kayla also struggles with an addiction to crystal meth.
What is the relationship between homelessness and addiction? Being on the street, there are 10 million things that you need to worry about from day to day. You know, where's your next meal coming from? Am I safe? So when you're dealing with those things, on top of having a mental health issue, sometimes people just end up falling into addiction. That's the way that they are dealing with the situation that they are in. It's easy to just throw everybody into this like faceless, nameless pot, but these are people. They have stories.
I think that's a good stopping point for this.
Kayla says she wants to be a singer. After she
Please check this video out. It's on YouTube. It's from USA Today. You can just put in street medicine, USA Today, and it'll come up.
Next slide, please. Well, I feel like the stories speak for themselves. However, these are just some of our numbers from the last 6 months as we've been operating here in the city of West Hollywood. So we have had 236 service requests from our city partners. Of that, we have enrolled 159 unduplicated patients. 104 of them have been BIPOC. We have 21 transgender individuals. You can see that we have over 450 medical procedures and screenings, and a lot of meds dispensed and delivered. We provide psychotherapy, and we also have 6 people that are on medication-assisted treatment for opiate use disorder. And one of the numbers that we're very proud of as well is we have 25 unique housing placements that have come from our service. So that is individuals that were on the streets of West Hollywood that are now inside and safe. Next slide, please.
Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm part of the clinical team here at Healthcare in Action. So basically how we usually get requests is we have this app called Tiger Connect, and it's a paging line that most of our city partners has access to, and they usually send kind of a text, and it's, protected. It's and essentially what they do is they'll just say like, hey, we notice an individual on these cross streets, can someone come just check in on them? And essentially what we do is we'll go out afterwards within an hour and kind of offer services, and then we'll provide updates back, like whether they accepted services or not. Like, hey, like we tried engaging, but they didn't want to talk to us, or hey, we signed them up, we'll be following them from now on, and continue services with them. And, we'll get repeats, and the ones who decline services, eventually, like sometimes it takes 10 calls. Like I had one, took maybe like 20 calls in a month, and we finally got him to sign up for services. So sometimes, the repeats. And as you can see, most of our calls do come from West Hollywood City Hall. Essentially, as I know, there's like a homeless service line where the community members will make referrals to that line. And essentially what they do is they will kind of like filter it out and send it to us. So essentially, and I believe some city partners also go through the City Hall as well. So it's not necessarily just City Hall, like other organizations will go through City Hall as well. But we do get some from like the CARE team. The CARE team has access to the app as well. And so does the other organizations like Step Up and Essentia, and then they'll send in the referrals that way, and then we can collaborate afterwards to continue moving forward. Next slide.
Yes, I just want to take the time to share a very memorable narrative. There was a couple referred to us from our block by block, one of the block by block security ambassadors. This is about a couple, a husband and wife. When we first met them, they were just recently transplanted from Oklahoma, and both of them were in desperate need of urgent medical and housing support. It's very hard for me to talk about them separately because they were always together throughout their challenges. But I'll try my best to delineate their individual wins. For the husband, when we first met him, he was in severe left foot pain, and this was secondary to something called osteomyelitis, which is a very bad bone infection. He was very scared of going to the hospital, and he didn't want to be left alone because he was very dependent on his wife. After much motivational interviewing and encouragement from our team, he was willing to go to the hospital to get further evaluation and treatment, given the severity of his medical situation. He ended up getting the necessary surgery on his left foot, and then once he got discharged from the hospital, we continued to stabilize his overall medical and psychiatric health. And after much planning and hard work from the housing navigators on our team, he is now housed with his wife, and we've passed both the couple along to our sister team, and they are continue to provide longitudinal care for both of them. And for the wife, she had a long-standing history of polysubstance abuse and psychiatric disorder, but she was very eager to get treatment from our team when we first met her. She was always very concerned about her husband's well-being, and while we were helping her husband get all the necessary medical care, we stabilized her substance abuse with MAT treatment, which is medication-assisted treatment, and provided her all the necessary psychiatric treatment. Now she's clean from all the substances that have afflicted her in the past, and she's now living peacefully with her husband. And
This case is very fascinating as it's one of the biggest ones in which you have a partner situation. A lot of the times when you think of homelessness, you think of the individual in itself. However, this one, you had two partners who were diehard for each other. They loved each other so much that they did not want their care to be separated. And so after hearing the clinical part of how well our medical team and clinical team was able to solve all those issues and be with them and solve them by taking those step by step to like allow them to control their care. A lot of the biggest things with Healthcare in Action, we don't think of ourselves as the saviors of our community. We think of ourselves as just tools and instruments being used by the community, and that our community can come to us and turn to us for what they need. And so when you look at the social aspect in the housing forum, in where we got them housed, and where we listened to this couple and they're saying that we don't want to be separated, we don't want to go to a shelter to be separated. No, we want to live in the same place. And so it urged us as navigators to go ahead and build relationships with community members and other locations to find resources to make that possible for this couple to be able to stay together, and maintaining that and giving them not only a secure place, even though it's transitional housing. We know that transitional housing can lead to permanent housing in itself. It's one step at a time, not trying to bite the whole cake at once, but trying to really cut piece by piece. And we're still working with them with our sister team, as explained by David. So we're not leaving our hands off. No, we're here for you. We're Healthcare in Action to care for you from the time that we found you and we got connected to you to the time in which you'll be secure and we can say that you're able to take care of your care on your own, as David has projected earlier. Next slide.
Right now, our current pathways to enhance collaboration with our city partners, as Isabel has alluded to, we have a referral line. It's 24/7. You can call in, it routes to a third party. They'll take in some very basic information like patient's name, the location of the patient, a short description of what's going on. And then usually within like 15 minutes, someone will return your call, and we will very shortly dispatch a team to respond to that location. We also do have a messaging app. It's called Tiger Connect. It's secure. A lot of our community partners are already on the app. You can, in the same fashion, you can, text over a short description of the patient, where the location of the patient is, and we will dispatch our team very shortly. We are also looking forward to more outreach engagement efforts. Very recently, we collaborate with the WeHo Sheriff's Department. We're hoping to do maybe a weekly or bi-weekly joint outreach to continue to develop more collaboration in the city of West Hollywood. Next slide.
Questions, comments? Any questions? Comments?
First, thank you for a very powerful presentation. I think it was something that we all really needed to see and witness. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions? Commissioner Blau.
Thank you, and thank you again for not only this presentation, but all the work that you've been putting in to help better our community. I really appreciate it. Regarding the app and being able to connect community members that, members of the community or us on the commission come across, can any of us download Tiger Connect, that app? Or does it need to be someone within like the care team or city staff? Do we have to go that route?
Yeah, for community members, there's a homeless concern line. I can give you that number right now.
Please.
As Isabel mentioned, city staff answers that line. We respond to it quickly. After hours, the care team responds to it.
Okay.
And we send messages through Tiger Connect to Healthcare in Action. So that telephone number is 323 848 6590. And the reason why we're using the homeless concern line and not letting community members access Tiger Connect is because of the private information that's shared. It's an encrypted healthcare app used to communicate among providers. So all of our contracted partners that work with the homeless population are on there, and we're often sharing information with each other. So the best route for the community is to use the homeless concern line for right now.
Okay, and then a follow-up question. You mentioned the CARES team. So the city sent out a whole magnets with the CARE team on it. So I think a lot of community members have that phone number readily accessible. Would that work as efficiently as the homeless services line to connect someone to
Oh, definitely.
Healthcare in
I mean,
Action?
all of our providers work together. So the CARE team is behavioral health. These folks kind of do it all. So they collaborate with each other often, and they're on Tiger Connect too, and can call Healthcare in Action when they're available 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day.
Great. Can I walk through like a workflow and make sure that, correct me if I'm wrong anywhere, like for a specific example for the community. So, you know, I walk on Sunset Boulevard and there's a homeless person that I saw, or an unhoused individual that I saw, you know, this was last week. And he had like sores on his leg and he was trying to deal with them himself. I think he had some kind of like, I don't know, disinfectant. So he's like pouring it on there. I think that would be a good opportunity given the definition of what you're talking about, what could be service. So in that opportunity, I could come up to him and ask him, hey, the City of West Hollywood, we have this Healthcare in Action team. There's medical professionals that can come here and come help you with this. Would you want to do that? Have that kind of like warm hands off with him. And then I could call either the homeless services line or WeHo Cares and give them the description of kind of what's going on and where it is.
Yeah,
and then that kind of ends the situation.
Couple of options.
Okay.
So there's also the patient line. I don't know if you have it on the slides. Oh, you have it? You have it memorized. Okay. Here's another number for you too, and then I'll walk through that scenario.
Great. Thank you.
Do you want to give it right now?
Sorry, squeezing in. So the number is 213
213
669
669
6453.
53. Amazing. And this is the
excuse me,
patient
not
services.
to interrupt, but what number is this again?
This is the patient line for Healthcare in Action. So a couple ways to get into contact with Healthcare in Action. It's either call City Hall, you leave a message on the homeless concern line that's staffed pretty much all day and up till 11 p.m. at night, or the patient line, which is Healthcare in Action's answering service. Now, in the situation that you mentioned, you don't have to ask the person because these are trained professionals.
Okay.
They know how to engage with unhoused community members
Great.
and know how to build rapport.
Okay.
So you could just call or call our partners, and they'll come and they'll engage with the person and provide care on the spot.
Okay, wow, that's great. That's even easier for the community member
Anything
general
else?
community members to engage. So I really appreciate that, and thank you for that. Director Rivas, or Commission Secretary, can we make sure that these numbers are included, if nothing else, in the agenda, or not the agenda, the minutes for this meeting as well, to share for those who aren't as good at writing down numbers?
Sure, absolutely. And I do know that these numbers, or at least the hotline, is available also on the Human Services City website. But yeah, we'll make sure that's reflected in the minutes as well.
Great, thank you.
And
Thank you very much.
Even though our service is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., that patient line is open 24/7, and it's always staffed with a clinician to give advice and to provide assistance, at least telephonically.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. Thank you for the presentation and the vital work that you're doing. I did just have a question about maintaining that contact with patients who require follow-up. You specifically mentioned psychotropic drugs, and if they're missed, it can be a problem. If they run out of their prescription, it can be a problem. So it's not just a matter of making certain that they're taking what they need, which I know can be an issue, but also that they don't run out of the medication they need. How do you keep in contact with the patient once you do get them to accept a health care like this that requires follow-up?
If a patient does not have a established encampment, which a lot of the folks here don't, because there's a no encampment policy in West Hollywood, but for a lot of our patients, if they don't have a working cell phone number, which a lot of them don't, we provide them a tracker. There's a large gray box that we provide them. It can allow us to track wherever they're at at all times. So that's one of the primary ways that we track our patients, and we ensure that we get that consistent follow-up and get them the necessary supply of constant treatment medications.
And this will be one of the times where the clinical and the navigational team will combine their services in making sure we check the trackers regularly. We find out what location this individual is at. If we can find a place that they can stay, like David said, if we can find a place where they stably can stay, then we can regularly have ourselves coming out there. But if not, the navigational team will try to also maintain care as well as the clinical team. So we tag team off each other. 1 week probably you will probably see your clinical person. The next week you're probably butting up with the navigational individual, trying to find out about what documents don't you have, how can we get you docu-ready, and that's to be able to keep that accountable aspect of being able to retain the client, so that if 1 week he saw David, I know where he saw David last week, so this week when Misha goes out, he knows to go there first, and then if not, check the tracker, find this out. And it also helps us accountable to refill, to like switch out trackers. A lot of times trackers may run out, clients may not have access to charging the batteries, so that gives us enough time to the following week. If David saw him and his tracker was on 100%, probably when I saw it, it was on 7 and he needs a new tracker. I pull out a new one, take that one, take the old one back, swip it out, fix his name, and make sure we can be able to maintain that care.
Great, thank you so much.
And our trackers generally last about 14 to 21 days. So we have a good distance of time to be able to refine that person. Depends on how often it pings on the cell phone piece, but it's usually 14 to 21 days. We also will potentially give out cell phones depending once we have a trusted relationship with a patient or there's a high need, we'll also be able to provide cell phones and we'll pay for that service.
Thank you. And actually, talking about trust and building rapport, these are words that have come up. I know that this is one of the things that's so frustrating is the willingness to accept help. And you mentioned fear of being separated. If you're a couple, I can't imagine. I can certainly understand that. So how do you overcome that? Can you talk a little bit about that? Just making certain that people will accept the help that you can see that they need.
I think it's through utilizing a trauma-informed care model and understanding the amount of trauma these individuals are going through, understanding like the model which I talked about earlier, as we are not the saviors for them, but we're collaborating with them. Maybe today when we met them, the individual can only sign up for services and he doesn't want to be bothered again. It's not just saying that and just giving up. It's signing him up for services, making sure you follow up actively and making sure that we come back to this client. We try to make it a practice that we're not forgetting the individuals that we get consulted. So when we get them, we have this schedule and making sure that someone must see this person this week. Within that time, someone has to have some kind of contact and be able to build this relationship with them. Because if you come one time, an individual has expressed multiple times when I've went out on outreach that, yeah, you're just like any other organization. They'll just come and then go. It's like, no, I'm gonna be here for you. And I've seen that individual from the time they were in a wheelchair on the street, urinating on themselves, to now that individual is housed in a place of their own, and build those reports in order to get them the documentation they need, show them that there's a service, have our clinical team follow them, adjust all those things, and then have them build that trust in HIA and know that we do more. I think David can touch on other aspects as well.
I would say, like as with any relationships, it definitely takes time. It takes time to build a relationship, takes time to build rapport with any patient. We do get a handful of patients, the first time we meet with them, they don't want our services, or frankly, they don't want any medical services, even though I see a glaring wound on their leg. But I believe in the concept of relentless engagement. It's like, okay, today you're not feeling it, that's okay. That's okay, we'll come back next week. We know where you stay, we'll come back next week, we'll check up on you. And maybe next week, they're still not up for it, but the third week, maybe they're like, okay, you guys keep showing up, okay. And okay, like I would like to, do some wound care today, okay. So it takes time, but we keep coming out.
We're not going to give up on our patients. We're not going to give up on our clients because these are our community members. Just how Jessica said in the video, these are human beings with human stories. We have to understand and meet them where they are in life because we don't know what they've been through. However, we can understand the trauma and not only understand with that trauma, but also with understanding that trauma, address it accordingly through trauma-informed care in itself.
Relentless engagement. I like that a lot. One of my best friends from high school, she disappeared for years and she was homeless. And she has a doctorate now. And when I talk to her and I say, why didn't you accept help for so long? Why did you just disappear? And she said, you can't force it, but if I know that help's available when I'm ready, that's what matters. So thank you.
Commissioners, anyone else? Yeah. Commissioner Freiberg.
Hello, and Derek, hello to you. It's good seeing you, and Louise as well. And of course, Healthcare in Action. I remember you from when I was on Human Services Commission. We're lucky to have you. I really feel that. And I think I remember you most because of the camaraderie between you, and also like the passion you have for what you do. And you're all smiling and, you know, looking at each other when you're talking. Like, I just remember you guys so well. So thank you so much for all that you do, and for finding, was it 25 individuals housing? Thank you so much for doing that. I don't even know how to thank you for that, but I just feel we're lucky to have you, and thank you for all your hard work.
Commissioner Harrison.
Yeah, I just want to echo what was said, I think, by everyone up here. And
Wait, I just want to say one more thing. Before you guys came up, I kept telling them, like, wait till you see the video. It's really good.
Yes, I want to watch the rest of the video, absolutely. But I see that too. I mean, the passion and the care, and I think it just paints a much broader picture of, I think, what we're trying to do overall in this community, and that it's not up to one entity, and it's just what a wonderful service to have. And I love the longitudinal approach. I mean, I think that's something that just makes sense. You're not responding to a single issue, or an individual will then, will never be seen again until there's another issue. So I really appreciate the service, and it's we're very fortunate to have all of you individuals doing it. And Isabel, I think you answered the question. Like, sometimes it takes 20 calls, and to know that you're all approaching it that way is great. And I think we're all very lucky again.
The couple that was unhoused, that thankfully have been placed, am I correct? Then they're handed over to another team that works in tandem with you?
So that was because the place, you want to answer this?
Yes, so Healthcare in Action has other teams in the area that do more of that longitudinal care. So one of the sites that they were placed at, our team frequents there and is able to, we all have the same EMR system, we're able to case conference and do that warm handoff to be able to continue to provide services to these individuals until they are permanently housed and stable.
And are they in temporary housing, or are they permanently housed now?
They are in temporary. Yes, they're in temporary housing.
And I believe you said they came from Oklahoma?
Yes. They're originally from Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I know obviously I'm not asking for too much information because of privacy, but when they came to the state, were they unhoused? Did they find themselves immediately on the streets, or did situations change for them?
No, they kind of moved out, I think, wanting to try to start a new life, but then I did the intake actually in the very beginning. And they kind of just found themselves out on the street from the very beginning but they did want to try to start anew in a new location. So I think it's more of like moving to LA to start a new life. They just didn't know how to start it.
Got it. Thank you. Again, commissioners, anyone else? Commission Secretary, do we have any comments from the public?
Yes, we do. Nick Roybal, if you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. First, thank you to each one of you for this needed work. Commissioners, I do have some questions, actually. In listening to this presentation and the work that is being done, it seems much of it is reactive. And I have some mechanical questions in terms of, is there proactive outreach? Are they making rounds on the daily down Santa Monica Boulevard, down Fountain, down Sunset? And what is that proactive outreach looking like? Do they have a schedule? Are there certain sites they're going to every day? Is that schedule public? Second, the metro bus stops and our digital signage, it seems as these sites are being used by our in-house siblings for more than just using Metro, it seems to me our digital signage could be used for a lot of your services in different languages, right? Making sure equity is always placed. But that could be a good outreach too, as more of our Metro sites are being used as shelters, as places to charge phones, to sit, to weather the storm of daily life in LA. Third, it seems this would be really great in tandem with our block-by-block ambassadors, right? Because they're on the streets, they're on the bicycles, they're all over our streets. So it seems our block-by-block ambassadors should really be working in tandem with Healthcare in Action. And last, thank you. I think trauma-informed care should be practiced in every department and office in our city. Thank you, commissioners, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Was there anything that you could share?
Chair, if we can address those comments maybe after the public comment. Was that the only public comment, or?
Is that our last and only public comment?
Yeah, that was our only public comment.
Yes,
Okay.
the proactive outreach piece, and then block by block.
So yes, we do proactive outreach. Each day there are individuals who are assigned on a shift to go out, do the response calls, as well as be out in the community, walking up and down, going to the hot spots that we know, Plummer Park, WeHo Library, those areas, and doing that proactive outreach to go and find some of these individuals. As far as that joint work with Block by Block, that is actually in the works. Derek, maybe you could talk a little bit more about what we're doing there?
Sure. As I mentioned in the beginning, we are working with our community safety department to get block by block ambassadors onto our secure app to start making service requests daily, if not hourly. Because as Erica mentioned in the last report, about 1.8 unhoused folks are being made contact with per hour. So it's a good opportunity for Healthcare in Action and Block by Block to collaborate. They share many of the same clients. They interact with the same people. So it's a good opportunity to not only get individuals health care, but get individuals into housing.
Great. Director Rivas, I believe you wanted to say something as well?
I did, yeah. I just want to take a moment as well to really thank the entire Healthcare in Action team, as well as Derek for coordinating this, as well as staff. I know it was something that was requested by the commission and supported, so we'll continue to build on the relationships and the collaboration and getting folks in tune with how to report to this very important service, and any way that we can continue to help out on the community safety side, we will.
Thank you. Again, thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the excitement and the joy and passion you seem to have for the work that you do. Again, I know I appreciated this presentation. I think it was very needed, so thank you for coming in and speaking with us.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Item 80 on our agenda, the Public Safety Commission will receive a presentation on traffic enforcement performed by the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department in the city of West Hollywood.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Matthew Davis. I've met you guys before. I'm part of the West Hollywood Sheriff's Station. I'm the traffic sergeant. I'm just going to talk about our traffic program and answer any of your questions and kind of go from there. Go ahead and next slide. You can keep clicking through. So this is our roster. I'm the traffic sergeant. I'm head of everybody. We have 2 traffic investigators, John Hild and Jacob Melee. They handle any of the investigations and deal with all the office type of stuff. And then we have 2 motor deputies, Josh Barstead, who's been out here for quite a while now, and Wilson Schlamming, who's out there quite a bit as well. Next slide. So for the field purposes, we usually, if perfect world, we have 8 assigned traffic cars that handle traffic collisions, and they deal with any of the enforcement that we need. And that generally equals 2 per shift. The problem is that they have to assist with crime calls as well as it gets busy, and they're still dealing with field stuff, but primarily they're supposed to do traffic. With our vacancies and our staffing issues, we only have 5 that are currently full-time assigned, and the rest of the time it's paid through overtime, or we have outside people that come in and do the job. So the traffic investigators, they'll respond and handle any of our fatal collisions if we have any. Good thing for 2023, we didn't have any fatal collisions in the city, which was amazing. They handle any of the serious collisions, hit and runs, DUIs, anything that has criminal intentions involved. They also file criminal cases with the DA's office. And last year, they usually handled between 150 to 200 criminal cases. But they also have to read and prove and investigate every single crash that comes into the city. Along with myself, I help them as well. The motor deputies, everybody's favorite cop most of the time, or least favorite, depending on your perspective. They do primarily traffic enforcement. That's what their job is. They handle all of our traffic complaints that come in through the city or the citizens. They help with community education, with making sure people understand the traffic laws. Last year, our entire office, we wrote 3,871 citations. So it's kind of down a little bit. Actually, it's a good amount, but we struggled with our motor deputies that had crashed, and we didn't have any full-time people in the spots, so we were filling with overtime and trying to fill in. Now we've got both of our motor deputies are back and healthy and riding on the bikes and doing their jobs, which is what we want. Next slide. So traffic patrol deputies, they're the ones that are out there handling calls. They respond to all the crashes that happen within the city of West Hollywood. They handled some traffic enforcement as well, DUI enforcement. Last year, they had to write 830 collision reports. You can go to the next slide. So special operations is something else that we also do as well. So we get money from the state. A lot of it's grant money. That allows us to do DUI checkpoints. It allows us to do that targeted ticket enforcement type of stuff, or DUI saturations. This is where we'll go and we get money specifically from the state to address new laws, as the commenters said before, about new bicycle laws, and they go out and they specifically enforce those things. And primarily it is for education. That's what a DUI checkpoint kind of is. It's also for the enforcement. It does well for that, but it's really for the outreach and the education. We hand out pamphlets, and that's usually pretty good. But this is nice because the city doesn't pay for any of this. This is all paid through the grant. Next slide. Our biggest challenges is we do get quite a bit of different complaints from the citizens or the city, and so we have a list of about 150 different areas that and it ranges, it goes up and down, but a lot of them are repeat places. So our motor deputies are the ones that primarily deal with these complaints and issues. We send it to our entire team, but the guys in the field, they don't have a lot of time to do a lot of the targeted enforcement as we would want. So the motors do it, and they rotate through their list, going back and forth to try to hit every location as much as possible. So it can take us a while sometimes to get to certain locations, and we put it on ones that are worse than others, so we have to kind of prioritize them. Scooter enforcement, which is always really difficult out here, that's extremely difficult for guys that are in cars to be able to enforce, because by the time they actually see the violation and able to get to where the scooter is, they're generally gone. The motors are the best equipped to be able to deal it, and they try. Again, it's a hard one to enforce because you have to see it, you have to be there, you have to catch them. A lot of times too, with the scooter stuff, they will warn and advise versus writing a citation. That's why you won't see as many citations, because the whole idea of traffic enforcement, at least this is what I tell my guys, is education. When you're pulling somebody over, if you feel that you can warn them and they've been educated and they understand now what the violation is, then that's fine. That's what it's for. If you feel like you need to cite them, then you feel that the education is not just the only thing that's needed. You need to go a little bit farther and write them a citation. And so a lot of times with the scooters, they're riding on the sidewalks, they pull them over, and the people don't understand that they're not supposed to do it. So they give them a lot of warnings, a lot of education in that regards. We get a lot of people that are from other countries that like to ride on, take the scooters and they ride on the sidewalks, and they legitimately just don't know what the rules are. And the traffic patrol units, if they're not writing reports, they're usually assisting with crime calls, and then in the other time that they have, that's when they'll go out and do, traffic enforcement. The criminal, patrol cars that we have in the field, they also do traffic enforcement, but they don't primarily do it. So they're not looking for those key things that we're always trying to, address. They address the other issues, the homelessness, the transients, whatever they're trying to do. Go ahead, next slide. So one positive thing, me and another traffic sergeant in the county, we've been working on this for a year and a half now. We wrote a grant, and it's going to be for the entire department. Originally, we were just going to do it for just a couple stations that we, are in charge of, but we were able to get a $1.5 million grant, and this is going to allow us to acquire a completely new traffic writing program that will increase the speed that the deputies can do their traffic collision reports down by like 50%. And then electronic sight writers too, so our motors will have iPad minis, and then they'll be able to electronically do everything and send everything electronically. It'll significantly help with our workload and our ability to do more citations or do more traffic enforcement or more education. And it'll be fantastic. We're still in the process. We've got the sheriff to sign off on it. We're just waiting to get the board of supervisors to sign off on it. And then after that, we can start purchasing. So we're really close. We're actually making good progress there. And next slide, and that's all I've got. That's our little traffic program we have at West Hollywood.
Great, thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
Yeah, I just have one.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for that. Do you have any comparative data that 150 hotspots, I guess that seems like a lot for our size. I'm not surprised by the way by that, but I'm just curious.
I would say 150 is kind of the highest. It usually kind of rotates as they address certain places. We sometimes take them off the list if we don't feel like it was just like a one thing that we needed to do. A lot of times we get repeat places where there's multiple complainers, so we keep those ones on there and then they rotate through those ones over and over again. So I would say in general, we usually have about 100 that they do, but it's not that they're hitting all of them, but we keep them on the list because we want to make sure we're still addressing them if those issues come back. Because it's Band-Aids sometimes. We go address the situations and then it comes back or it gets forgotten about. So I don't like to let them just disappear. So we keep them on the list and we put them in our rotations. If we're doing targeted enforcement like bicycles or pedestrians, then we'll go back and look at those lists and pull the ones that we've have on there and use those ones for locations to try to target.
Thank you. And then just one more question, and you sort of brought it up earlier with the new potential technology for citation writing. Is there anything that's happened in those hotspots from a technology standpoint, even as simple as the blinking, red lights over stop signs? Like, have you seen anything work, or is there anything that you believe?
I would say certainly that everything helps, even just a little bit. So blinking lights. We even mentioned, we talked to the city engineers about different ways that they can maybe address the signaling, for the lights and how they work. Suggested maybe more signs for the scooter stuff too. That'll make it easier for the motor deputies to be able to enforce, because then there'll be more signs, and then they can say, well, there's a sign right there and there. Stuff like that does help. It all does. If it gets people out of their bubbles while driving and they see flashing lights or they see new signs or different things, it does help. And so to answer your question, yes, they do help.
Thank you.
Commissioners, anyone else? Commissioner Nickel?
Thank you, Chair Holman. Thank you, Sergeant Davis. For targeted enforcement, or for last time we were talking about a stop sign on the east side that is very rarely stopped at. So we were talking about maybe getting a traffic cop out there to go and do something about that. So when you do that, do you see a difference? Do people start to follow the rules and not break the law? Does that last for a while? It wears off. You have to go back again. You sort of talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, certainly it does help, especially when we've saturated the area for a little while. It gets people in the mindset of knowing that, oh, I will get pulled over here in this area. It does help. That's why the motors are such a visible enforcement. You see them out there, people generally know that they're not messing around when it comes to traffic enforcement, and they will usually cite you. And the more we could have, obviously, the better, and it could make a much bigger visual, thing. But we're dealing with, we have two, and then the rest of the time, even in cars, it does help. So, but yes, we do have to end up going back to those locations if it is a really good targeted hotspot or there's a real problem. Sometimes it can get solved with just a few citations, some education, people understand it better. But generally, we have to go back.
Yeah, great, thank you.
I don't know if you're going to be able to answer my question. I don't know, Director Rivas, if you can assist, but I'm perplexed by our scooter situation. I was walking north today on La Brea Avenue. I saw a scooter traveling south at what appeared to be a rapid rate of speed. What is the maximum speed for these scooters?
Thanks, Chair. So I don't know the exact cap. I know this was a discussion that was had with the City Council. So there is a maximum limitation in terms of the scooter vendors that are currently participating in the city's program. So I can certainly figure out what that number is and circle back with the commission via email. But I don't know that number off the top of my head, but there is a limitation that they approved.
Okay, because again, he was moving at a rapid rate of speed. If someone had come out from a building around the corner, he would have clipped them. Also, has City Council looked into, before you start your scooter ride, there are 5 tips that the scooter will verbally give you that talks about when you can ride on the sidewalk, when you can't ride on the sidewalk, simple things. And also, at the end of your ride, please make sure I'm not left in the middle of the sidewalk, because these are constant problems we continue to have with these scooters.
Yeah, I don't know, Chair. In terms of the program details, that's not something that we've been involved with, but we can certainly get information from the liaisons on the city staff side.
Okay, that would be great.
Sure,
Yeah,
we can
I
provide that
appreciate
information
that.
via email.
I have a little bit more I can add. I know that the 2 vendors within the city are set to a certain speed limit that they're not allowed to exceed by the law and by what's been established. The problem is you've got people that have outside vendors or they buy their own scooters, and those ones don't usually have the governors to keep them at a certain speed, and they can break the law. And certainly if we can catch them, we would definitely cite them. That's, again, the tough part with scooters is by the time they can actually get to them and pull them over, they're moving pretty quick. In this city, especially during busy time frame, it's hard to get them around. That's why the motors are so much more effective at being able to do it. And even then, for them to do it, it takes a lot of effort because they have to purposely put themselves in those places to try to get them, and it takes them away from dealing with other complaints, which is fine. That's what we want to deal with. That's what we're dealing with. But it's a challenging enforcement.
Thank you. Commissioner Blau.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sergeant Davis, for this, and I really appreciate the traffic enforcement work. As a pedestrian and actually as a driver as well, I really appreciate it, and I wish we could do as much as we can to help work on that topic. Related to that, do you know of any technology that's legal in the state of California that can assist in kind of doing the traffic enforcement piece? I know speed cams currently aren't legal in the state of California. We're working on a pilot, or a couple cities are working on a pilot. Red light cameras, maybe? Anything in that kind of vein?
There is a lot of different options or different ideas that have been used technology-wise. I would say realistically the biggest thing is just enforcement, having more people out there being able to do it, because you have to visually see the violations to be able to do them. The camera stuff certainly would help with a lot of education. Even just having the camera stuff to be able to mail warnings to people, would be well within a legal, right? So there are options. There are stuff out there, and definitely open to any type of suggestions of anything we could do to make it safer.
Okay. And then when it comes to like scooters, for instance, and bicyclists, I know that I'm confused as well myself about what laws apply where, because it's a little bit, sometimes it's a lot like vehicles, sometimes it's not. Do we have resources to help out understanding on that? For instance, like when I'm walking around my neighborhood recently, I got yelled at and almost hit by a bicyclist who didn't want to stop at the stop sign. My understanding is bicyclists should stop at stop signs, should stop at red lights. Practically, and I know that it's more annoying for a bicyclist to slow down and then start back up as compared to like a motorist. But do the same sort of laws apply?
Certainly, yeah. The bicyclists have to follow the rules of the road just like everybody else. If there's a stop sign, they have to stop and make sure traffic is clear. And generally, we don't see that a lot with bicyclists. They try to go at their own flow, and there's a whole lot of enforcement you can do just on that. I do have some like what we call cheaters and pamphlets that give a lot of the laws for specific stuff for scooters that I can provide for you, that you can put on the website, or you can provide. It tells what the different rules and the laws are, and same thing for bicyclists and pedestrians and all that stuff.
Great.
We have a lot of literature.
I think that would really help with the education piece that you mentioned, so thank you. And thank you for the presentation today.
You're welcome.
Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments?
We don't have any public comments in chambers.
Okay, great. Thank you for your time. I know that when the deputies are on my street doing traffic surveillance, they're busy. They're very busy.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Item 8F, the Public Safety Commission will review the meeting schedule for the rest of the calendar year 2024. Staff?
Good evening. The City Council will consider approving an amendment to the Public Safety Commission's bylaws, changing the meeting date from the second Monday of the month to the fourth Monday of the month. This item will be on the May 20th City Council meeting agenda. The Public Safety Commission meeting next month on June 17th will not be affected by this. Beginning in July through December of 2024, the proposed meeting dates are listed on the agenda. A big thank you to Commission Secretary Jessica Anukum for mapping these out for us. They will be on the fourth Monday of the month, except for October, November, and December holiday months. We will have the commission meetings on the second Monday of the month to accommodate the holidays for those months. Thank you.
Great. Commissioners, any comments? Or questions? Okay. And Commissioner Secretary, I assume we don't have any public comments in chambers. Do we have any additional items from staff at this time?
Yes. Thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. We do want to share a few updates with you this evening. We'll start with the Public Safety Open House that was held on May 1st at Plummer Park. We had a great turnout from the community, along with representatives from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, Los Angeles County Fire Department, Block by Block, and of course, all of our Public Safety Commission board members. Thank you for your support. The community had an opportunity to ask questions, share concerns, and learn about our public safety partners and the Public Safety Commission. Thank you for all of you for bringing this idea forward and attending the event. National Night Out will be on August 6th this year. Monthly meetings have been scheduled with neighborhood watch captains to coordinate and assist with planning needs. We will have a complete list of National Night Out neighborhood participants by June 5th. If anyone is interested in hosting a National Night Out event, please reach out to us at safety@weho.org. On May 6th, the item to extend the block by block contract by 1 year was approved by City Council. The city continues planning for Pride 2024, which will take place May 31st through June 2nd. A public safety meeting was held to share information on the events and to plan for resources. We will have enhancements to personnel as it relates to sheriff's deputies, the Los Angeles County Fire Department, block by block ambassadors, code enforcement, and traffic personnel. We will have an emergency action plan in place and will be partnering with our local agencies as well. Please visit www.wehopride.com for planned street closures and additional information about the event. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department will be making presentations to the Public Safety Commission in the coming months on various topics such as hate crimes, mental evaluation team, and retail theft. The installation of the new traffic signal at Fire Station 8 on Santa Monica Boulevard has been installed. It will stay green for traffic on Santa Monica Boulevard until it is activated by fire station personnel. Fire station personnel will be able to signal the light to red as needed to safely pull apparatus in and out of the fire station. On May 11th, the Community Safety Department, alongside our public safety partners with sheriffs, LA County Fire, and Block by Block, presented to the members of the Civic Leadership Academy. We spent the day discussing each component of public safety within West Hollywood, followed by a tour to the West Hollywood Sheriff Station and West Hollywood Fire Station 7. We will be sharing this presentation with the Public Safety Commission in the coming months. A collaborative agency approach in providing services proactively to our unhoused community members began this week. Our West Hollywood Sheriff Station Community Impact Team deputies, West Hollywood Sheriff Station Mental Evaluation Team, Human Services Healthcare and Action contractors, and Block by Block personnel have begun working together to contact our unhoused community members to provide services, assess those individuals that may be suffering from mental illness, and address any other concerns. This new collaborative program to address unhoused individuals in need began this Wednesday with efforts focused alongside Santa Monica Boulevard, but will extend into Sunset Boulevard, Melrose Avenue, and in our city parks. This effort will continue every Wednesday during the day for the next 4 weeks and will be reassessed. At the next Public Safety Commission meeting on June 17th, we will have the oath office swearing in for our new Public Safety Commissioner. At the following meeting on July 22nd, the members of the Public Safety Commission will elect a chair and vice chair from among its members. This concludes the updates from the Public Safety Division. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commission Secretary, do we have any public comments at this time?
Yes, we do. We have two. First one is Kevin Burton. If you want to approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening again, Commissioners. Kevin Burton, resident of West Hollywood. I want to invite everybody to join city staff from the Division of Long Range Planning and the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition in a Bike to Work Day pit stop this Thursday morning. We'll be on Santa Monica Boulevard at Hancock, so this north side of the street, and we'll be providing information on the city's efforts to improve facilities for bicycling within West Hollywood, and also we'll be handing out a variety of types of educational materials, one of which addresses a comment that was made by a sheriff's sergeant. That is, we have a fold-out that lists most of the vehicle codes that apply to bicyclists in the state of California. So it's a very useful, quick reference guide. We gave a whole box of those Sheriff's Department a few years ago, and we will be giving those out at this pit stop where we'll have tables. There's also refreshments, coffee, and other refreshments. So please do stop by. That is in the morning commute hours between 7 and 9 a.m. if you have the opportunity. And secondly, in response to Chair Hallman, the speed limit in the city of West Hollywood for rental scooters is currently 12 miles an hour. Statewide, the limit is 15 miles an hour. So if you own your own scooter, you can go that fast. That is very fast if you're on a sidewalk, 15 miles an hour. So I certainly share your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last public comment, we have Stephen Post. You'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, Commissioners. Just want to first thank Commissioner Saltzman for all of his service. Sounds like I have some pretty big shoes to fill, but my name's Stephen Post. I was recently appointed, and I will be joining you here at the next meeting as a fellow commissioner. I look forward to working with all of you, as well as our public safety partners, and including to improve WeHo's public safety. So looking forward to it, and happy to get some coffee or anything like that if y'all want to. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Great, thank you. Welcome. Commission Secretary, any additional public comments?
We don't have any public comments.
Great. Item 11, commissioner comments. Commissioners, does anyone have any comments at this time? Go ahead.
I just want to comment on the open house. I think it was great. I think it's just another great opportunity for outreach, and it was wonderful to see everyone participating. And I think the more, and I think I say this all the time, it's probably because I do PR for a living, but the more we can get the word out to bring more people into those types of engagements, I think would be good for all of us, especially just what we, the presentations we heard tonight. Hopefully we can get more public attention to the great work being done.
Commissioners? Go ahead, Commissioner Nickel.
Thank you, Chair Hallman. I also just wanted to say that the Public Safety Open House was really great. It was well attended. We should definitely make sure that we do it at least once a year. I also attended the transgender community meeting, which was really well put together. Director Rivas and staff did a great job. There was a representative from the FBI, the Department of Justice, and Detective Emmanuel Cortez from the Major Crimes Bureau unit was there as well. It would be great if he could come and speak, so it sounds like that is actually good. So that's actually going to happen. Excellent. And I think that's it. Thanks so much.
Commissioners, anyone else? I also want to say thank everyone and staff for the great work in helping us put on our very first public safety open house. I think we can all agree it was a big success, and it was nice to see so many residents come out. On May 4th, I attended Coffee with the Mayor at Domain on the East Side, and I'm also actively part of the current Leadership Academy, which is very informative, great knowledge and information about the city. This past week was public safety directed. We went to the sheriff's station for a tour and also fire station 7. So I encourage anyone, if that comes around on the calendar again, I know it's a 10-week course, or is it 12, Director Rivas?
I believe it is 12.
12, okay. I will say the sessions move briskly. There is no time for yawning, and they do feed us, which is great, so I highly recommend. Also at this time, I would like to make a motion. We've had a couple of situations where businesses have been hit by vehicles, so I would like to make a motion to maybe have someone from traffic come in where maybe we can discuss bollards being placed in certain areas of the city, or maybe some other emergency stopping measures. For example, I'm always concerned when I drive by Just for Dogs at Santa Monica and Fairfax, on Mamie's, the new cafe, Breakfast Republic with the very large outside cafe, and Trendsetters, which we all know has been hit 7 times by vehicles. So I would like to make a motion and see if I can get a second for that.
I will second that motion.
All right, thank you.
So Chair, so I make the motion. If there's consensus, I'll definitely check in with our city clerk's office as just making sure if it's just information that the commission is looking for, but there wouldn't be any sort of recommendations. That is something, as far as I'm looking at it, that would fall on the transportation and the mobility. I know they changed their name recently, so I want to get it right, but it would be the Transportation Commission. So I just want to make sure that that's falling under the specific purview. But what I'm hearing is more or less a motion to kind of have somebody from our traffic engineering, if that's what I'm hearing, look at some potential options.
That would be great, and also maybe there's a way we can work with them. I think this is critical. Yeah. We're not doing enough.
Yeah, so absolutely. And I do know in terms of that location at Trendsetters, I know that there has been input that's been provided, and that our Public Works Department is looking at different options with our engineering division. So I just wanted to make sure, setting expectations, I'll certainly follow up and look at that. And if it's something that's feasible, absolutely.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioners, anything else? All right, so we are adjourned. Our next public safety meeting is scheduled for Monday, June 17th. Thank you, everyone. Residents for attending, everyone for speaking. Have a wonderful evening.